With the rise of abstract expressionism in the 1950s, the locus of the art world had shifted from Europe to America. While New York City was home to the emotionally detached pop and minimalist movements, elsewhere in America, there were artists working who had different concerns. Artists outside of New York City struggled to garner attention from the national art world. This meant they often struggled for financial support, but it also allowed them to develop their personal vision unencumbered by the pressures of artistic fashion. In the Midwestern city of Chicago, the School of the Art Institute was where many artists received their education in the 1950s and 60s. Several generations of artists would emerge from this school who had a distinctively non-New York view of art making. The first generation of these artists had an interest in the human figure, and their subjects were derived from mythology and Jungian psychology. At a time when abstraction was seen as the epitome of the modern approach, these artists bucked the trend. In 1959, art critic Franz Schulz dubbed them the Monster Roster, due to their dark themes of disfigurement and pain and use of harsh brushstrokes and grotesque drawing. Don Baum, director of the Hyde Park Art Center, gave a group of artists who employed a wicked humor and cartoony drawing style their first exhibition. The work of these artists was influenced by surrealism and the low culture of comics, circus performers, pinball machines, and carnival banners. Pointedly anti-establishment, they were determined that their art would not have the aura of hipness of the pop artists. This first exhibition was titled Harry Who, in reference to Chicago art critic Harry Burris, who the group felt was especially pretentious. It would become their moniker. Often grouped with the Harry Who artists because of their Chicago roots and use of figurative imagery, several other artists were involved in shows curated by Baum. They exhibited at the Hyde Park location between 1968 and 1971. In 1969, the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago featured many of these artists in the Don Baum Says Chicago Needs Famous Artists exhibition. These artists are often referred to as the Chicago Imagists. Many of these artists would go on to be included in international exhibitions and museums and private collections. While Chicago would never eclipse New York in art world importance, these artists proved that a regional movement could be significant.